and it comes at a very appropriate moment when the Housing Commission confirms what the dogs on the street know, that you have made an absolute catastrophic mess of the housing situation in this country, resulting in untold housing misery for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of working people, of young people, and of the 13,500 people languishing in homelessness. It's no surprise to me, I have to say, that while you got this report some time ago, you don't publish it. It's an absolute outrage that journalists have it and can read it, and TDs in this House can't. But what is absolutely clear is this report is utterly damning of your housing policy failures. The quotes are fairly familiar at this point, but it's worth reiterating them. Ineffective decision-making, spending more than most other European countries, but getting less. A chronic deficit of 250,000 houses as against what we need. The failure of your rent pressure zones to actually control rents, your failure to deliver enough social and affordable housing, the need for an emergency response, something us in the opposition have been appealing to you to adopt for years. But the most telling, I think, sentence in the whole thing is where it says, the strategy to successfully achieve a sustainable housing system is not complicated. But your government has managed not only to complicate it, but to make a dog's dinner of it, and a lot of misery and suffering and hardship has resulted from it. And you see, the core of the problem, Taoiseach, is that most of the housing in this country is delivered by private landlords, private developers and private investors who are interested in profit, not interested in putting affordable roofs over people's heads. Some of them actively engage in speculation on housing, vacant property and land. But your policy is to continue to pour billions, about £1 billion every year, into various subsidies, whether it's HAP, RAS, leasing, other subsidies to landlords who still fail to deliver the housing we need, and anything they do deliver is completely unaffordable. Unaffordable rents, unaffordable house prices. So I say to you, are you going to accept the need for a radical reset of policy which will prioritise the delivery of social and affordable housing, that will actually control rents in order to make them affordable, and to bring in use it or lose it policies on vacant property, derelict property, and to stop the profiteering of property investors and speculators?
Thanks very much. Taoiseach, please.
Well, thanks very much, Ceann Comhairle. So firstly, we will publish the Housing Commission report today, because I agree it's useful, it's a bit old-fashioned, but it's useful to read things before commenting on them with such authority. And before you wrap yourself in the recommendation of the report, I'd recommend you read the recommendations, because I received the report last night, and there's 83 recommendations, 500 actions and sub-actions, 400 pages of text and 3 years of work. There isn't even unanimous agreement on all of the actions by all of the members of the Commission. And I'm not sure you're going to agree with all of the recommendations either, by the way. So this idea that has been put forward in this House quite successfully, in fairness to the opposition, over the last 24 hours, that it's a binary choice of do you accept or reject the Commission's report. I look forward to asking you and you and you that next Tuesday, because I don't think there's any party in this House that will accept in full every recommendation, because there wasn't any member of the Commission who seemed to accept, well sorry, there were many members of the Commission that didn't seem to accept all the recommendations either. So let's publish the report today. Read the report, let's debate the report, and the Minister for Housing should also publish an update in relation to where we're at on each of the 83 recommendations, because there is a radical reset of housing policy underway. That's why we have a land development agency. It's why we have record social house building, the largest amount ever in my lifetime, the largest amount in 50 years. It's why we have cost rental schemes. It's why we're seeing 337 new homes go to construction every working day this year. It's why we have more than 30,000 homes commence construction so far this year as well. But you talked there about incentivising and private developers. The report's very clear, just to be very clear to you on this before you talk about the great... Well, I have read it, because that's the useful thing to do when you're Taoiseach and you get a report last night. It's useful to read it.
You gave it to the press.
And I'd advise you to read it when it's published too, and then we could have a more informed discussion on it. Because the report very clearly talks about the need for diverse funding models. Yes, we need and have record levels of exchequer development, but it doesn't. But this idea of private investment and diverse sources of investment being the devil incarnate isn't what the report finds. It's just your political view of the world. So we asked 12 people to come together. We asked them to do 3 years of work. They did it. We should be grateful for them. We asked them. Let's read the terms of reference as well. We asked them to outline what housing policy post 2030 should look like. That just keeps getting airbrushed. This is 2024, we're not post-2030. And everybody's just jumping to why have you not done everything in the Housing Commission report? It's not post-2030 and we haven't had a chance to analyse all the recommendations yet. So let's read the report and let's consider it. But what I can tell you is this. We need to continue in the here and now to do everything we can to help people who are trying to buy their own home. And that's why we are now seeing, as I say, very significant increase in housing supply, very significant increase in social housing supply, very significant increase in incentives available to people that you, I don't think, are in favour of in terms of the Help to Buy scheme and the First Time Buyer scheme as well. I take the point that you make in relation to some of the rental supports and the wish for that not to be a permanent destination for people and the need to get people secure accommodation, be it social, affordable or private. But I also get the point that you raise with me on a very regular basis in this House, probably once a week, the need to continue with those supports and the need to reform and improve them further.
For those who are not convinced by your answer, the housing protest is outside Customs House at 2:30 this Saturday, and I hope people will come out on the streets for it. Look, nobody disputes there will be a private sector in housing. But the private sector should not be subsidised at the expense of delivering the social and affordable housing that the private sector is completely incapable of delivering. But the vast majority of your policy is about either giving subsidies to private developers and speculators who are incapable and unwilling to deliver affordable housing at the expense of the social and affordable housing we actually need. Now that is a crazy policy, and you need to accept that the house prices and the rents at the moment are unaffordable for about 60 to 70% of ordinary working people. The market that you subsidise, that you incentivise, that you pour billions into their pockets are not delivering stuff that is affordable. Therefore, you need a radical reset, and that's what the Commission report says. Break from a failed policy, admit it is failing, and reset. And begin to direct the resources the state has, which are plenty, into building social and affordable housing and into controlling the absolute obscene rents being charged by these property investment funds and these corporate landlords.
Thank you very much. Taoiseach.
So you're picking one line of around 400 pages of a report, which I accept you haven't had an opportunity to have or read yet. I accept that fully. But what I'm suggesting...
I've been phoning the journalists to try and get it.
Yeah, well, we'll be publishing it today. What I'm telling you is this, that when you see the actions, you'll see that many of them are underway. Many of them we agree with, by the way. Many of them are in line with government policy. Many of them are things we are working on right now. And there are some, Deputy O'Connell, that I'm not sure you'll fully agree with either. I'm not sure there's some that you'll agree with either. So I don't think it's going to be a case of every single recommendation meeting the satisfaction of every political viewpoint in this House. But there's good ideas here. And you know what? We need good ideas. We need to be open to listening to new ideas. We should never be so complacent or arrogant to suggest when it comes to housing that we don't want them. And there's good stuff there that we will advance. There's also stuff there that we may not be fully convinced of, and there's stuff there that you may not be fully convinced of either. So when it comes to housing, we're open for business when it comes to new ideas. And that's what the Housing Commission is helpful in relation to. That's why we set it up in the first place, and that's why we look forward to engaging on it.
Let's have 50% social and affordable on all development, as we've asked for.